How's my hair look?
It's great.
With
It looks
headphones.
great. Yeah. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, you can take them off. But congratulations.
Thank you.
November 4th, was it? When
Well, it was 28 days to cure the vote, so I really didn't find out until December.
December?
It's like December 4th, I think we found out.
What
So
was
it kind of took our thunder away, whoever was running, because we couldn't like celebrate. It wasn't official until then.
right. How long was the whole process of you wanting to be a mayor to being a mayor?
We fill out paperwork in September,
Mhm.
and then you have to go through a process to see if anybody else puts in their name, puts it in the hat. And then after that, you have 90 days until the election that you can put up banners, posters, send mailers, texts, and then up until the election on
Wow.
November 5th. And that's when you have to kind of everything stops, halts, and then you just wait for people to vote. There are people that are out there, you're still knocking on doors saying, your ballot hasn't been turned in, because there's now
Oh,
software systems that give us all the information of whose ballot hasn't been turned in and how old they are, where do they live, because it's a lot of personal
really?
information. People are like, how did Cece know I didn't vote? Because I was like texting, hey, your ballot hasn't been turned
No
in.
way.
Yes. So that's kind of exciting, because when I first started, it was old school. There were clipboards. There was like a stack of paper this high, and we would just have to go through the clipboard and say, okay, this address, this person, they have 3 voters. Let's go knock on the door and speak with them. And you would take teams that would take clipboards
No way.
of all the papers, and you would just check it off. So this is a new system, a new data system that's just amazing. And I have a good friend that was like on the beat when it comes to that. And he's kind of walked me through it. And that's what helped my team that was canvassing really get out there and hit the doors running.
Oh, nice. How long were you a council member for
I
before?
am the oldest, but not by age, by years served. So
Right.
this will be my 9th year.
Your 9th year.
Mhm.
So you're still technically a council member as well, or
No, I swore in to be the mayor in
okay,
December.
okay. I know very little. Like I said, I worked for code enforcement for the city of Fresno, and yeah, I knew very little. I worked with council member Steven Montes.
Yes, he was
Yeah.
actually my code enforcement officer when I started.
No way.
Yes, and I said, you know what? You're seeing a lot of issues here. I need some help. So you're going to have to look for a new job in order to be a council member, because you can't work for the city and be a council
Right.
member. So that's when he went to Fresno to be a code enforcement officer, ran and won.
Yeah. Good for him.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so much fun. Well, it was fun working at the code enforcement. I'm no longer there. Let's not get into that. So I'm kind of dumb when it comes to this kind of stuff. What does a mayor like actually do for the
Well,
city?
one thing people have to realize, they think, oh my gosh, Mayor Gallegos, you're not teaching, are you? And I'm like, yes, I'm still teaching.
Wow.
A mayor is the same as a council member. It's not a strong mayorship
Right.
like Fresno is. The mayor has separate responsibilities and powers than the city council does, but we are not a big enough city. So all of us have the same vote. The only difference is the mayor does do the meetings, and the mayor has appointments to certain boards throughout the city.
Mhm.
The mayor used to come up with proclamations and certificates, but as council members, we saw that being abused by the
Oh,
past
no way.
administration. So we kind of halted that and said it needs to be clear through the whole council that says yes. Can't be just one person saying this person's going to get a proclamation. It was just totally being abused. I was really upset when an individual got a proclamation for being educator of the year, and she wasn't
Oh.
even a teacher. And here I'm a teacher and I'm part of our union, and people were coming to me saying, Cece, how could that person get that proclamation? And I'm just like, okay, this is concerning now. And that's when the council all agreed that we needed to really shut it down
Mhm.
and do the right thing for this community. And so the mayor responsibilities are not as much as they used to be, because as council, we felt it should be everyone. It shouldn't just be one person.
Yeah. And I'm so sorry for this because I was agreeing and nodding, but what's a proclamation?
Proclamation is when you deed like the day for like Red Cross.
Oh, okay.
Proclamation is saying today, Red Cross, we acknowledge Red Cross. We appreciate all that they do for this
Gotcha.
community.
Okay.
A proclamation could also be for Black History Month,
Yeah.
a Woman of the Year we just had last council member. I mean, it's something that is important to this community that we want to just recognize
Yeah.
their service.
Yeah. And in this community, well, before we get there, you're still teaching.
Yes,
And you've been
700 kids,
whoa.
7 grade levels every week.
Whoa.
Yes.
What grade?
I teach art now. I pulled out 4 years ago to teach art to the entire
That's
school.
awesome.
Alex Hernandez took my spot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
I was 2nd grade teacher before that.
Man, do you miss second grade?
I do. I really do. I would like to go back, but he's doing an awesome job, and I don't think he's going anywhere.
No, he's
And I
not.
only have a few more years, Diego. I'm almost done. I've been
Really?
teaching 33 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there anything from teaching that you took here as in the city jobs as a council member or as a mayor?
I can say that my union duties did help me a lot.
Yeah.
Growing up, I was student body president at Madera High. I knew I
Wow.
wanted to be part of government. I wanted to be involved in the city, and I said one day when I was in that position, I was going to be the mayor. I did say that
No
back in high
way.
school. The thing is, I decided to get married and have children and raise them right. So
Good.
I stepped back, didn't really get involved in city government. I was involved in anything between sports to ASB to clubs to campfire to 4-H, you name it. I was there. But my youngest was going into college, and Sally Brown Prezi was District 1, and she happened to step down because her mom was very ill. And that was an opportunity for me to go on her ticket for the remaining 2 years. And I just thought it was a sign from God. Hey, Cece, this is your time now. Your little
Yeah.
one's, going to college. I'm going to do it. And you know me, I'm going to do it with 110% or not do it at all. And raising kids, that was my main focus. And so I felt, okay, my youngest one's going to college. I'm going to have the time now to really commit to this community and do it right. And that's kind of why I stepped in then. And it was hard for me because if in the public school, if we want something done, we will stay day and night. And if it takes us a week, we'll do whatever it takes to get it
Yeah.
done. And for me in government, I had to learn real quick that there's a lot of process, policy, and red tape.
Yeah.
And I don't care if I could stay up all night, which I stay up late. It's nothing I can get done on my own, and it's a procedure that I've have to take. And that was really hard for me when I became a council member, because I was like, what do we need to do to get this done? Who do I need to call? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And that's not the way it works. So that was my biggest struggle. I had to learn just to step back and breathe and let it take its place and its process. Because for me, if you know me, I will work day and night to get it done. And
Yeah.
that doesn't work in government. It's a whole different beast.
Yeah.
And I really didn't see that side of it as in government and student council, because you really don't deal with the main things that you do in the city.
Mhm.
But no, I've always been involved with government and stuff like that. And I knew I would go back to it, just when.
Yeah.
And what really pushed me to even do it even more was the Herndon development that we all see with Target and
Yeah.
Old Navy and Olive Garden. That development was supposed to go on 17. And we had a
Oh.
council, and we had a city manager and staff that just and this is just hearsay, I don't know for sure, was very arrogant and told the developer, you're going to do this, this, and this. And the developer had did an environmental, had done put a bunch of money into the project, and said, you know what? Doesn't sound like Madera really wants us. So they picked up their project and moved it to Herndon.
No way.
Tax dollars, that could have been more parks, street lights. I mean, I was just like,
Yeah.
as a citizen going, oh my gosh, that would have changed Madera completely. And so at that point I was like, I'm done. I'm going to run for city council. There needs to be changed. And people were like, ooh, Cece's getting involved. Watch out. Because I go all in, and I got in and I asked a couple directors questions, and you could hear a pin drop because nobody ever asked directors questions. And I was like, looking at everybody like, what did I do? Did I say something wrong? Because I will ask the hard questions. If somebody's not doing their job, they need to be accountable for it. And that's what was
Absolutely.
happening. And so I was hitting the wall alone, and then I got another council member. And again, I tell people it doesn't matter how much I want something to happen. If it's a sidewalk, a street light, whatever it is, if I want something to happen, I cannot make it happen unless I have 3 other council members. So there has to be 4
Okay.
to move any action forward. So it was 2 of us hitting the wall. And then I got code enforcement officer, now council member Steve Montez, and Santos Garcia on, and we had our 4 and got 5 now. And then we got 6 votes and 7 votes, and we're starting to move stuff in the city.
Beautiful.
But I hit the wall for at least 3 years, just hitting the wall with everything. And one of the things I was hitting was the Love's Travel Center. I got on council. I'm like, okay, we were hearing about Love's. We're hearing about a restaurant, Applebee's. We're hearing about a hotel. Where is it? And again, this was the old staff that would tell me, well, member, we're working on it. I'm like, okay. So a year goes by, and I'm like, nothing's happening out there. And I said, you know what? I get off at 3:15. I want you to go over at Love's. I told our community development director, I said, get a shovel of dirt and throw it in the air, so I feel like you're moving dirt when I drive by, because like nothing was
Nothing's
happening.
happening. Yeah, everything's so
And I
slow.
was like, oh my God, something's got to change. And so um, the ones that weren't really doing their jobs with the new council members in, they got let go. And then we got our chief of police became our interim city manager until we hired the new one, which is Arnoldo Rodriguez, who we have to this day. He's been here for 5 years, born and raised Madeiran, is
Good.
hitting it out of the park. And I basically told him, city manager Rodriguez, if we don't do something, we have other entities in the county building these truck stops, and if we don't get Loves to make this happen, we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose the ball. So he got with staff and said, we need to make this happen. Started moving dirt. Got Loves in there. The economy's had its issues after COVID, so Loves isn't probably going to build their hotel and restaurant as we've seen. It will just sit as a travel center, and other things will be built around it. And so that kind of, was really frustrating. And another thing I was really frustrated with was I wanted to put in the Quimby Act. And the Quimby Act was put into place in 1977. And that is to deed any subdivision, a developer has to give either money to pay for the playground equipment, or deed land to the city so that we can build a playground or a park. Because I go to other cities and there's parks everywhere you turn in subdivisions. I mean, in Modesto, there are town and country parks in every subdivision, huge.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are our parks? And my brother was a parks director at Kerman, city of Kerman, and he was building a park almost every year. And I'm like, what is Madera doing?
Yeah.
And so come to find out, we didn't have the Quimby Act, but I couldn't get staff to do it. Again, it was just one of me. I needed more council members to say, hey, this is important. We need to get more parks for our community. And so it took about 2018. I finally got them to put a resolution in place where the Quimby Act is in place now, where developers have to give us the land or the park, or we use that money to put at a park nearby. And since then, we've built 6 new parks with the Quimby Act in place.
Really?
Yes, in the city. And we have a lot more on the list. What a lot of developers have been doing, like Joseph Crown, he actually deeds the land and builds the park for us, and we just reimburse him for the playground equipment. And he just does it all, which is amazing, because that's one less thing that we have to really do. And he's got the staff to do it.
Just make the transaction, have them do the work.
People are always like, what have you done, mayor or councilwoman? And mostly everything we see in the city is done together. But that's the one thing I can say that I did myself, is the Quimby Act, and put that in place, because I really had to hit the wall and pull some teeth to get that in place so that we would have more parks for our kids.
Yeah, parks are extremely important. I have a 12-year-old daughter now. We would always go to the sorry about that. I have other people on that side of the wall. We would always go to Lions Park, and that's kind of far away from where I'm at. So it would always be a drive and drive back. I mean, it's still not that far away, but still. And yeah, having more parks would be nice. I never even thought about that. Like, why don't we have more parks or anything like that? But now that you mention it, I'm like, yeah, there's 2 that I would avoid, because, a lot of homeless people would hang out there. And yeah, that's probably the best one. The Lions Park, like, that's more public, that's huge, and has a lot to offer. So the fact that we're getting more parks is going to be so great for our community, because kids aren't going outside no more. They're not playing outside.
Right.
Yeah. And neither are the parents, right? We're too busy scrolling on our phones. And
that was important to me, was some of the parks that we've been building, we've been naming them after the subdivisions. And, I agree to that, because that's the builder who's giving it to us. But we did build a park by Sierra Vista. And again, if you know me, I'm voted by District 1, but I represent the whole city. And before I was mayor, I did stuff on all sides of the city. And people used to say, well, Cece, that's not your district. No, but this is my city. And I'm going to take care of it. So we wrote a grant for a park by Sierra Vista. It's on Knox and Olive. And we were looking for a name. And I said, people had some ideas. And I said, why aren't we naming it after community members that have done a lot in Madera all these years, that have made us strong and has helped us grow? So I met a gentleman when I got on the city council named Jim Talbert, and I didn't know him. I knew his wife. She's a teacher. And he just kind of guided me through local government and gave me some knowledge that I didn't have because I was coming in, from the workforce of education and raising my kids. And he was a Spitfire, and he'd worked for Berry Construction. He'd worked for our EDC, community development, and he knows he knew everything that was underground, like all the piping, all the water,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the knowledge that he could bring was amazing. And so he was very sick during COVID and got a little bit better. And so I brought to the community, and if you know him, his name's Jim Talbert. He was always an advocate for the East Side, and people always are like, "Oh, the West Side gets it all. The East Side, it's no East and West. It's City of Madera." He's put in solar lights there. He put in ADA ramps, sidewalks. There's more sidewalks on the East Side than the West Side because of Mr. Talbert.
Wow.
He did amazing things. And so I went to the council and I asked them to name this park after Jim Talbert, which they agreed. He got to we broke the ground, so he was there. And sadly to say, he did pass, but he was so touched that he was going to have a park named after him and that his grandkids and his kids would have a legacy there. And so for me, that was amazing for this council to do, because again, I would need four that would just to say yes for it.
Yeah.
And I think we need to celebrate those people that have done so much for this community. And there's a lot out there. But for him, for the city, he gave years and years of his time, and not just in the city. He coached Little League and Bobby Sox and basketball. He used to take kids that were on his teams with his own kids, and he would put them in hotels because their parent, some parents don't take their kids. It's just sometimes just the one parent that can make it, and he makes sure all the kids had food. He did above and beyond, and so I was really touched and blessed that we need to have a park. And the ground has been broken. We're moving dirt. We've widened the street already, and we're just waiting for the weather to get better to start bringing in that equipment and building it.
That's beautiful. I'm glad that that it makes me happy because you hear Lions Park, and I don't know the park next to Yum Yum Donuts, but Old Man's Park is what I know. Or the one next to Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that we're using people of our community to recognize
and residents don't know that that's the county. It's a county park, even though it's the middle of our city.
Right.
The county owns it, and
Really?
they maintain it. Yes.
Gosh. Is Madera like everywhere else where it's spotty, where there's a lot of
Other
county
than
places?
that would be Parkwood. Old Parkwood is still county. Other than that, everything's the city.
Yeah.
Across from Courthouse Park is that little area by Elks Lodge. And that's when you see vendors and people are like calling code enforcement. Well, that part right there is county. So again, city code enforcement officers can't maintain that one little section. So when you see people selling flowers or people selling food or phones, we can't enforce it because it's county land, which is it's really hard for us.
Yeah.
But even though Courthouse Park is in the city, we've made an agreement with the county and the Board of Supervisors that we will patrol it and maintain it for law enforcement because we're just right there. Why would we have a sheriff come all the way out from the country when there's an issue there? So we've made that agreement just to kind of partner and have those conversations, and just it's for our citizens. We're just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm thinking again about having a Target here in Madera. It bums me out. I'm like, how great would that have been? How convenient would that have been?
We're working on it. And again, people are like, and I've heard that, I'll talk to people at different agencies that will be like, I moved out of Madera because you don't have a Target and you don't have any restaurants.
Yeah. Well, what I like about the one on Herndon, because I go to that Target a lot. Sorry, Madera.
I know. I'm going to plug my ears right now.
What I like about that area is it's welcoming, where people can just walk around and hang out. And I'm like, I feel like Madera doesn't have like a really good place like that. A little bit over there where what's it called? The Baskin Robbins is at. A little bit there, but it's not enough for me to like want to hang out all day because there's all these like restaurants and everything. So, and unless I'm mistaken, I haven't been downtown.
It's coming.
Yeah.
We have a project in the master plan that's out towards the golf course.
Oh yeah.
10,000 homes, 1 million square foot shopping center. Now I'm hearing it's a 2 million square foot shopping center, which just 1 million is bigger than Lowe's, Food for Less, and Walmart's shopping center. Those three combined is not even 1 million square foot. They have a school already built in their plans. parks, purple piping for the landscaping. Fred Fagundes is the developer on that. That's trying to get they permitted 522 homes already. They're just looking to see who they're going to contract it with. That's
Yeah.
going to be a big move for Madera, but again, it's going to take time for that to happen.
Yeah. I I'm glad Madera's growing. Yeah. I mean, I don't like the traffic that little by little it's getting worse, but I do like that we're getting a lot more things and a lot more we're not just a small town anymore. Because I remember when my parents moved here, it was we were in Fireball. Want to talk about small? And then we moved here, and I remember around these houses, everything was dirt except Parkwood, because Parkwood's right over there.
Hmm.
It was dirt over here, dirt like between South Campus and here, just grapevines.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I like that it's growing so much. What's the population right now? Like
68,000.
68,000,
Hmm.
and it just keeps on projecting to
It's
go up,
it's
or
probably more the census. It happens every 10 years,
yeah.
and the census happened in COVID. A lot of people didn't want to answer their doors.
Mm,
That's when you kind of mark how many people live here. A lot of people didn't turn in their mail-ins
yeah,
surveys, so it's kind of just a rough number because it was just a hard time to get people
right.
to give that information that's needed. And what people don't know is that's how we get money for healthcare. That's how we get money for transportation. The census really is the foundation for a lot of money that comes into cities and counties.
Okay, that's how the state distributes
Hmm.
the
They
what's
look
coming
at your
in.
population. Yeah.
Understood. Is the hospital part of Madera County or city?
No, it's in the city. It's
Yeah.
not part of the county or the city. This is how I prerequisite to people. It's like Walmart. It's a private
Oh,
business.
okay.
And so we can't, we don't have a say. Either does the county. The county has a little bit of say because they have to provide health care to the residents in the city and the
Understood.
county.
Yeah.
But because people are like, why don't you save the hospital? Give them some money. Well, I can't give Walmart money if they were to go down and they had financial issues.
Oh, okay. So
I
it's its
can't
own
give
private company. Yeah.
taxpayer dollar
Gotcha.
money to the hospital. We could probably have helped them out in different ways,
Yeah.
but they had a lot of issues coming forth.
Yeah.
We did hear off the press, like right before I walked in, they're going to ribbon cut an opening tomorrow from 7 to 9.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good.
So,
I'm glad we got something here in Madera because my grandma was sick during the time that it was closed, and we had to take her to Fresno Community all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
So
easy.
it's not. But I'm glad that somebody stepped up and
Yes.
took. Yeah. Man, it's a beautiful thing. I I was not involved in politics or anything about our city until I met Alex. Well, no, until I started to tolerate Alex to talk about government. That's more on the nose. He's taught me so much, and I'm so glad because I was so oblivious from the federal level to the city level. And one thing that he said to me once that kind of like stuck with me. He says, if you want to see change within your country, start at the city level and
Mm-hmm.
then from there kind of move up, um so right now that you're mayor, and I know you're brand new, you got 4 years, right?
Yes.
You got 4 years. What do you see yourself doing after these 4 years? Do you plan to go to state or kind of stay local?
I will stay local because I can really make a difference local. I
Yeah.
did take a run for board of supervisors in March, but they had just moved the primary to March and nobody knew to vote. I got more votes as the mayor than me and my opponent got for
No
supervisor.
way.
Just nobody voted, and I would hear people, "Don't worry, Cece, I'll vote for you in November." I'm like, I'm not running in November, which I did end up running in November because I ended up running for mayor. But that's probably as far as I'll go.
Yeah.
I've been approached to run for the Senate race that's happening in 2026. And I'm
Wow.
just not one to be on a plane going back and forth. And I don't feel that I can make much of a difference at the Senate or Congress level. I have a good friend, Senator Hurtado, Melissa Hurtado, is now down south area. And she really butted some of the senators and went home for the weekend and came back. And her office door was locked and she couldn't figure out what was going on. And they said, "Oh no, your office is over there." And she said, "My office is over there." Well, they had to put her in a closet
Whoa.
because she went against some of the
Oh my
senators that have been there for a long
goodness.
time. And she's young, and
Yeah.
I'm not young like her and Alex. That I have the time to really fight and learn my ways and try to make those relationships so
Yeah.
that when you do have disagreements, you can still walk away, shake hands, and smile and make policy and put it in place. And so I don't see myself going to those levels because I have grandkids and I love Madera. I'm born and raised here.
Yeah.
I don't really want to go anywhere. I feel that I've done a lot here and I'm going to keep doing it here. And I think the Senate and those Congress are for these young people like Alex that need to get involved because we can't do this forever. I've already told them, and that's how you mentor, you train,
Yeah.
you give them the experience, and they need to take off from there. And
I
so
th-
that's where I'm going to be.
I think I've told him a couple times too, why don't you start running for something? And he's all like, no, no, I don't have time. I'm like, but you have all these opinions. Why not, do your part? Sorry, this became an attack on Alex. No.
Bring a chair all over here.
Yeah,
Bring a chair
Alex,
right here.
yeah. But for real, Alex, like, get it together. I am grateful for Alex though, as frustrating as he can be sometimes, where I just want to talk about anything else, and he's like, "Did you hear what happened?" I'm like, "No," and I don't care. Like, let's just hang out. But I'm grateful for him because he's educated me a lot. I didn't. I think I went to the first council meeting ever here in Madera
Mhm.
a month ago. Yeah, we went there, and it was really fast. And I just got the.
Oh my gosh, you missed my council
I
meeting.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was only one thing on the agenda. So I was really sick
Yeah.
and ended up in the hospital. And I was getting dressed to go. And my sister's like, "You're not going. You're not going." I'm like, "I'm going." And she's like, "You're not going. Look at yourself." And I'm like, "It's okay. It's one item on the agenda. I can do this." She's like, "You're not going, Cece." And I'm like, "Okay." So I call my clerk and I will go sick. That's how we do as teachers. We go in
Yeah.
as sick. I just do it. But being in the hospital, my sister's like, "You're going to have a relapse. You just need to take it easy a few more
Yeah.
days." And I thought, okay, it's only one thing. I can let somebody else run it. But no, you need to come when I'm there because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, that's what he keeps telling me. What do you think we can do, or how can we get more people involved? Because when I was there, I think it was only us three and like two other people. Um, and when I got there, I recognized I forget the guy that goes to our church, his name. Arteño. I saw Montes, and then I saw Rohi as well. That he just got elected.
Yeah, he took my seat.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay,
Yes.
yeah. And I've known Rohi since I was like a little kid. Well, I'm still kind of little, but I was younger. Um, and I'm like, wow, this is cool. Like, it's actual people that I know and that I see around
Mhm.
the city, and they're making these decisions. I had no idea what they were talking about because I didn't have the the thing. But at the same time, I'm like, how come I didn't know that this was happening all the time? So, what do you think we can do to involve the community more?
One thing we are doing is we have our first town hall meeting tomorrow night. And when I ran for city council over 9 years ago, I went to one. That was the last one that we had. And I just went as a citizen to hear what they had to say.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that a lot of the residents said when I ran for mayor is they wanted us to bring back town hall meetings so that people could get knowledge. And so I asked our chief, Gino Charamani, to put on their year review for our police department so that residents are aware of it. And so it'll be at Madera South tomorrow at 6 o'clock. They're going to give the year report. We're going to talk about what I think is really important is neighborhood watch, and that's how we get people involved.
Oh,
We need captains in neighborhoods to say they're going to be in charge to pull their neighbors together and give information to each other because police officers can't be there every second of the day. We need citizens to be our eyes and ears. When there's an issue or something happening, you need to call it in. A past council member, Will Oliver, said, "No call is too small." And I've kind of championed that with him.
that's
That I tell people, you've got to call, even if you don't think it's important, because the gentleman or the gal walking by, you're thinking, "Well, I've never seen her here. I always know everybody walking by. Should I call it in?" They have a backpack or they have a suitcase with them, and you don't call it in, and then you find out next day that 3 days later that your neighbor next door or a couple
Yeah.
houses down was robbed. That was probably the person. So we always say, if you're not sure, just call it in. And if we're not on a call or after we're done with the call, we'll come check it out or we'll just, drive by. Officer's car says a lot in a neighborhood,
Yeah.
especially if somebody's walking it or casing it. So that's one thing we're going to really push on at this town hall is trying to get more people involved, because what neighborhood watches do is they bring city hall to them, to you at your neighborhoods, because a lot of people at 6 o'clock are making dinner, feeding their kids, doing homework, or at work, so they really can't make it to those meetings. One thing is it's on Zoom. You can watch it live. Every
Oh,
council meeting
yeah.
from your house. You don't even have to come to City Hall. And you can, if you have questions or comments, you can, there's a number that you can raise your hand and our city clerk gives you permission to speak, to ask questions. So, um, for me, it's no excuses. You can do it at
Right,
home. You can
right.
you can do it wherever you're at in a car. Listen to it. If you're working out, if you know, our meetings are so exciting, and so I'm excited to kind of really ramp up
Yeah.
neighborhood watch, and our police department has great things to share with this community. We'll see how many of our residents come out on Thursday. I'm excited. I'm hoping we can get a really good turnout because this is what they said they wanted.
Yeah. Do you guys mail in that information for people, or is it just like word of mouth, a
We
website, or?
Social media has been the big thing
Oh,
I
okay.
learned from running a campaign. Mailing, really,
Yeah.
people don't check their mailboxes quite often, or they just check it with all the advertising they get. And it's very expensive to send stuff in the
Yeah.
mail now.
Yeah.
So social media, word of mouth, they put flyers around town, and and emails. Like we have a mass email of people that always say they want to get involved, and they shoot that out too.
That's great. Yeah, neighborhood watch. I've always seen that sign. It was at the end of the street, and I'm
Mhm.
just like who's watching us? Like I
Well,
just see the
and,
sign.
and the thing is, so many neighbors have moved. There's since COVID, you have new people
Yeah,
around you, and we got to get people out of their houses. They got so comfortable now. It's really hard to get these young people out
yeah,
and other people out just to talk to neighbors. And the weather's been kind of crazy these last few weeks, but after that, I think we're going to have good weather that we're going to be able to do more neighborhood watches around the city, just to have those conversations that I'm going out of town. I'm going to tell Alex, watch my house. I'm going to be out of town a whole week or
yeah.
whatever. And then he's across the street and he sees something, he has another neighborhood phone number. If Diego's down the street, hey, Diego, did you see this person walk by? I did. Where did they go after this? It's just good communication.
Yeah, yeah.
That neighbors sometimes don't think is important. It is very
It
important.
is. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Everybody around my this neighborhood where my parents are at, they they're all different. The only one that's the same is the one right across the street. And there was a time where my buddy that he used to live there, but now he got married, has kids, moved in a different place. He's like, "Hey, can you go help my mom? Like, she needed help with the thermostat." And yeah, like I went
Hmm.
right over, knocked, and I was happy to help. And it's very good to talk to your neighbors
Hmm.
for two reasons. When I worked in code enforcement, those were the ones that snitched on you if you had a bad relationship. And whoops. And the other reason, both of these guys were here. It was during 4th of July. We're having a barbecue, and then we're hanging out afterwards, and we're just eating, hanging out in here. And then I get a knock at the door. Diego, your backyard's on fire. Yeah. And then we just ran up there. I mean, we should put a video on that, huh? Like on the podcast of us
Yeah.
putting out the fire.
So there's an empty lot behind his house right next to the
Oh.
Burger King, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was dry and everything. And that's what caught fire. So all four of us guys jumped over with the hose and buckets and put it out. And it was funny because as we're putting it out, the cop pulls up and is like, "Wait, you guys got this?" And we're like, "Yeah." And fire department
Neighborhood
drives by
watch.
and they honk for us and they give us thumbs up. We felt like heroes.
You truly are, and that's what we have to tell our citizens is that you are the first line of defense,
Yeah.
and
Very
we're
much so.
backup. That's what we are.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really like that, getting the community back involved. And I'm glad that Alex pushes me to get more involved and get out there more. I think it's important. I really want to know what's going on because I would only hear news from council member Montes when we worked together.
Mm-hmm.
And he would be like, "There's gonna be an In-N-Out coming," and he was telling me that before COVID, and I'm all like, "Yeah, right. Like it's been 2 years, nothing's coming." But then you said, all this red tape.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's a bunch of permits. I'm sure there's all these what is it, inspections that they have to go
Mhm.
through. But it happened, and I'm like, "Hey, I already knew that." Like I felt like I was in the know. So it's pretty cool to know that, and it's funny because it's public information, right?
Yes.
Not that In-N-Out was coming, but I'm like, yeah, In-N-Out's coming. Like I knew that already, but everybody probably already knew.
There's a new, I can't say what it is, but there's a new restaurant happening downtown.
Really?
Yes.
Hmm.
It's on D Street, I think.
D Street.
Yeah.
What? That reminds me because you said downtown in Yosemite and D Street. What is Madera doing about the homeless issue?
downtown or all over
all
Madera.
over.
We are following the rules
Yeah.
that we've been able to do. Our police department treats every citizen like a human being, and
Good.
some of our community members have a problem with that because they feel they're living on the streets or they're living in the river. You
Yeah.
know, I've got a lot of calls on dogs that are in kind of in the Tozier area, and I
Mm.
said, okay, they belong to somebody that's probably homeless. And just like you, we can't take your dog. Why do we take their dog? So it's just trying to keep them knowing that they're still
Yeah.
human. There's a human factor there. We need
That's
to
good.
treat them
Yeah.
respectfully. Now we do have some that are aggressive. That's a whole nother ball field that we're
Yeah.
gonna have to entertain when they're aggressive. We are been cleaning the river, as you know, because
Yeah.
of the 2 houses burnt down, and the city has been adamant about keeping those weeds down and low. We haven't done it alone. We've done it with Madera Irrigation District. They have
Good.
been in the river with us day and night trying to make sure that we maintain it. Most of the river doesn't belong to the city or the residents, but it's in our city.
Yeah.
It backs up to our city's houses. So we need to be proactive and make sure nothing else happens
Yeah.
to any city residents. So we have to post when we clean out the river or anything that has a homeless.
Yeah.
We take their things. If it's left there, we have to hold them for 30 days.
Yeah.
And then if nobody cleans them, then we can dispose of them. We've had outreach workers, and I say we, CAPMC has outreach workers. I always say we for everything. Hospital, I say we for everything. CAPMC, Community Action Partners of Madera County, have a program where they have rehabilitated 2 like outreach workers that used to live in the river.
Right.
Because when we have workers that talk to homeless, they don't really respond to us because they're like, you don't really know what it's like to live here. You haven't been in my
Yeah.
shoes. These outreach workers have been. So when they go down the river and talk to our homeless, they're more apt to respond to them, and
Good.
we try to get them help. We take them to Madera County Social Services. We get them mental health. A lot of them, I would say, don't want help. And if they don't want help, there's so much we can do.
Exactly.
It is
Yeah.
cold outside. It's rainy. We have places for them at the rescue mission. But like everyone knows, in order to go there, you can't drink alcohol. You can't do drugs.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are like, no, I want that. And so
Yeah.
we have to protect those individuals that are at that location. And we have to say, well, then, you can't go, even though we want to make sure that they're safe in this community.
Right. Yeah, because I volunteered a lot. It was, I think, a little bit after the city of Fresno, I left there. I had a lot of free time in my hands. So I was helping out there a lot. And we have a huge homeless. I think sometimes 200, 300 people that we would feed.
Wow.
Not everybody was homeless. A lot of people were just kind of going through tough times
Mhm.
and get a nice meal. But most of them, yeah, like I said, they're friendly. They keep to themselves. You try to talk to them, they're like, nah, like you don't really, like how you said,
Mhm.
kind of brush you off. But yeah, we did have a couple incidents where like a couple of them do get a little aggressive, but I mean, what I do like what you said is that we do treat them with dignity. We
Mhm.
do treat them as a human being with respect. Yeah, it can be frustrating because I was part of a task force once at the city of for the homeless.
Mhm.
I think it was an abatement. I forget what. I was like so many task force. Um, and yeah, I would see that too. The like, oh man, these people just need to get out of here, or like this is gonna sound horrible, but somebody once said like, man, we need a purge or something like that, and I'm just like, man, it's kind of a sad way to look at it. But from what I understand, a lot of the Bay Area and LA area are the ones that are bringing them to the Central Valley, right?
That's what we've heard.
Yeah.
It must have been during COVID. Our chief was Dino Lawson at the time, and
Mhm.
we found out somebody saw a van dropping off homeless in the city, and come to find out it was a Pablo Little house in Fresno. And when our
Mm.
chief got a hold of it, it was a whole nother world. We said, get your vans back, come pick up your
Yeah.
community members. This is not the place for them to be. Everybody should be taking care of their own community members.
Yeah.
So we kind of shut that down. One thing our police department has been really good about, again, treating them like humans.
Mhm.
We had a couple that was homeless and had been here for about 4 months, and our officer was talking to them, seeing if there's anything we could do for them. They need some services, and come to find out, this couple's car broke down. They didn't have any money. He was trying to get a job. You can't get a job when you don't have a lot of stuff. They were just passing through, but they got stuck here.
Yeah.
And so our POA, the union of our police officers association, they can use their funds to help individuals. Now, our city police officers, we can't use our city funds for that. It's to give public service. But being a union like we are MUTA, we can use our funds if the association agrees for it. So we bought them. I say we again, and I'm not MPOA. They bought 2 tickets on Amtrak to get them home. And
That's
so
good. Yeah.
we were always asking, where are you from? We've had a young girl that was homeless down there for a while, and she was being trafficked, and she just didn't want to do that anymore. So she was going to live in the river, and she didn't want to go home because her parents would just be so upset about what she'd been doing. And so
Right.
we have a program called the Olive Foundation, which is works with sex trafficked women and men, and we get them out. We have a special home that we can put them in.
That's good.
Madera is the only one that has it in the Central Valley. So
No
we
way.
even take women and men from other cities if we have room in the house for them. And so this young lady, we took her there. Dan Foss was one of our lieutenants who came up with this program right when I got on council.
Yeah.
So it's been like 10 years. And he got a hold of the parents. She gave him permission, talked to the parents. The parents were like, no, we've been so worried. We want her home. So he drove her home. Make a long story short, there were tears, there were forgiveness, and she's home and she's safe. And
Good.
again, it's just making those human connections and realizing there are some reasons why people are homeless down there. It's not always a mental issue or a drug issue. And so if there are those individuals that need that support, we are always there to try to get them that support and get them where they need to be. We have the executive director, Maddie Mendez of CAPMC, and she's amazing. We've had homeless just like show up at a park or on a street, and it's like 6 o'clock, and there's like our officers like, Councilwoman, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, wait a minute. I make a call. Maddie's in her car headed over, calling her team to get it ready. She's picking up somebody to bring to them. I'm telling you, this community like pulls together
Wow, that's
for
so good
whatever
to
it
know.
is.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed too about this community, well, at least Madera, because when I was going to high school in the time, there's a lot of gangs, and you don't see that here in Madera as much anymore. I know there's still some, but they're very quiet if they are. Contrary to Fresno, where there's so many gangs and still very active, and you can't even go to certain neighborhoods. I'm not trying to trash on Fresno. It's just
Right.
the only thing that I have to compare with.
Right.
So yeah, that's something that I didn't notice until I met a gang member at one of my jobs. And he was already like trying to get out and everything, but he was saying like, "Oh yeah, no, we're still active. I mean, we're not that big as or loud as before." Does that have something to do with the city of like toning that down, or?
I contribute it to our police department. We are like rock hard, solid.
Good.
When a crime is committed here, our police officers are like kind of like me. They will work day and night. They will not sleep until they catch that person. If it's a shooting, if it's Valley Steel is the new entrepreneurs, young kids that I taught that have a sports shop. Well, the car went right through it. They were gang members and didn't realize they robbed the city in Madera, and we hunted day and night and got them. And
Wow,
so they
good.
didn't not know. And if I remember right, they're from LA, and I'm thinking. I get so much information I can't even remember, plus everything else. But when something happens in the city, you will be hunted down if you've done something bad. And the word has gotten out.
Yeah.
One thing I contributed to, we had a program, and after COVID, it kind of had to stop. And same thing with the other program. It was a gang prevention program. Every 4th grader in Madera Unified got an officer in their classroom in an 8-week program that talked about gangs and how this is what they're going to do. This is how they want you in them, and this is what's going to happen. And if you get, into a gang, it's going to be hard. And it just laid it all out because they do go for them young.
Yes.
And so these 4th graders are taking this information and sharing it with their family members, big brother, little brother. And I think they were like out there kind of educating everyone else. And you've got to start young. And
Yeah.
so after COVID, we were not allowed in the schools, the gang or officers, and to put this gang prevention program in. And I think that's why we're starting to see a lot more happening in the city. And I guess it was a grant program. And I talked to my chief about looking to apply for it again because that was awesome.
Yeah.
Another thing was the graffiti. I know you've seen the graffiti around the city, and we used to do before COVID. We did a graffiti abatement program, and every third grader in Madera Unified got that program. And we had our code enforcement officers, Councilman Montez, out there. He pretended like he was,
A gangster.
a gangster, and he had a beanie on, and he sprayed the wall that they brought. And then we had code enforcement and officers get him, and they cuffed him and they put him in the car, and then our graffiti team came in. They showed him how they paint over it, and it was just that really resonated with kids. They're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And we actually had a couple kids help handcuff and like walk them away, and it was just, I mean,
Scared straight. in
yeah,
Madera.
don't do graffiti. And so and they again were our educators out there teaching their little brothers and sisters, and they would drive by in the car with mom and dad. Oh my God, that's graffiti. And the parents were like, how do you know what graffiti is? Because they're learning it in the schools.
Yeah.
And so our graffiti like went way down.
It really did. Yeah.
But again, after COVID, those programs went away, which we're trying to rear up, just like Neighborhood Watch. It doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take time to get those back up and running. But until then, we are going to see some of that in our city. And I have to tell you, those graffiti young men and women that are doing that, we're catching.
Good.
We've gotten already 3 young men. I think they're young men. I say young man, but Alex is a young man. Diego's a young man. Everybody's a young man in here but me. And so and again, City of Madera police officers, we were catching those young individuals. Just the same with the ones that are setting the fires in the rivers. We've caught them also.
Yeah.
We don't mess around.
Yeah, that's good. I remember my daughter telling me about the gang, the officer coming in to teach them about gangs.
Mm-hmm.
And she was all excited. She's like, what are gangs? I'm like, well, I used to hang out with the red team, but I never joined. But so then we had a conversation about gangs.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really cool. I don't remember that happening when I was in elementary.
No.
So I'm glad that that's happening. And that could be a big reason. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest reasons why you guys get to them before the gang members do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Same with the drugs. She told me about that they came and talked to them about drugs and all the effects and what to do and how they're going to approach you. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's
Yes.
good. That way I don't have to be a parent. You guys can do it. No, I'm kidding.
Well, we open the door for conversation because there's only so much that we can discuss. I mean, we can't talk in detail about a lot of stuff, and that needs to come from the parents. So I'm glad your daughter went home and had those conversations, because a lot of students, you ask your kids, what'd you learn in school today? Nothing. I'm like, and I used to tell my students, if I hear you tell your parents you learned nothing when we did 15 things today, somebody's going to get it. That's what I used to tell them, because we were always moving and there's plenty to share. So I'm glad she went home and shared that.
Yeah. She thought it was really cool. And, she got stickers and everything. So same with the fireman. A fireman has gone to her school. So, yeah, man, and I guess someone also came for school shootings, like what to do in these types of scenarios.
Active shooters.
Active shooter. Yeah. So I guess I never really noticed how involved the community is, or like every piece of the community, like working on its own. I see police department. I just think police department. I don't think City of Madera police, So yeah, it's good to broaden that picture. You guys have any questions?
Well, I'll just share on one thing real fast, because you talked about fire.
Yeah.
So I want to tell the residents, I just want to do a shout out to all the residents. Measure K, which happened in 2018 or 19, I'm trying to remember what year. It was a half-cent sales tax that this community said yes to. And because of that half-cent sales tax, it was half would go to fire, half would go to police.
Yeah.
We were able to finally build a fire station after 40 years because of Measure K. 40 years it took the city to build a new fire station. We never had a fire truck that could service a building like La Quinta, the hotel, or the government center, or even, sadly to say, they used to call it the downtown mall area that burnt down on the corner. So we didn't have a truck that would would go to 2 stories or even be high enough to shoot water inside a building if it's on fire, because you have to be high enough to get it in the middle. And so with Measure K, we were able to buy a fire truck that did that. Measure K was able to update our 911 system. Measure K was body cams now on our officers, because we have a lot of residents saying the officer did this, the officer did that. And then I go look at the body cam. I'm like, no, the officer did not do that. We have new Measure K vehicles. We have Measure K officers. I could just sit here probably a half an hour and tell you everything that Measure K has done, and it would never have happened without the citizens in the city of Madera saying yes to that tax.
Yeah.
That has just been amazing, and because of that, Station 58, the new fire station, it was in my district.
Right. By 17, right? Avenue
Yes,
17. It's so nice.
And well, that was a whole fight too. And so I named it the People Station because the people built
Nice.
it. That's what it should be named.
Yeah.
And it was a fight for the look of it. I had, again, this is when I got on hitting the wall with a city manager and other directors that, don't live, they didn't live here. They didn't care about it. And they questioned my reasoning for putting that nice brick in front. And I
Yeah.
said, you know what? I live here. My grandchildren are here, and my children's are going to be here. And I want a facility in this city that when I'm long gone, 100 years, they're going to say, this is a beautiful building. Because a lot of the city buildings we built they don't look very nice.
No. Yeah.
We need to take pride in what we're building. This is, and being the People Station, I was like, totally have to make pride in it. It was, and with the engineers, I worked with them one-on-one. We did the roof to, it looks like an airport because
Yeah.
it's near the airport. We won national recognition for our fire
Really?
station for the engineering and
awesome.
building of it, the planning of it. So, and that's helps Madera.
Yeah.
And so I was just been a big proponent of, when you put it out to this community, they will rise. And Measure K was a big win for this city, but it could have not have happened without the residents. So thank you for all of that.
Yeah, 100%. I wasn't even aware of that, but yeah, you're welcome. Happy to do it. No, I'm kidding. I told you I just got into politics a couple of years ago. I didn't even know what would happen. Honestly, Alex would help me fill out the ballot for the presidential elections.
Here's the two sides.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have four years, and sorry guys, if you guys have a question, come up with them. It's a 4-year term, right?
Mhm.
What are your biggest plans or goals to complete within this time?
The first one I'm working on right now, and it's in the process, and I've been asking for it for over 8 years, but nobody's been able to do it, is Hometown Heroes.
Hometown Heroes.
Again, my brother was the parks director at Kerman, and they hang flags from veterans and for military that have passed and military that are now they're still in service. And these banners are put in the city, throughout their city in Kerman, from Memorial to Veterans Day. And I've been trying to do this in the city, but nobody's really wanted to take it on. Now that I'm mayor, I'm making a commitment to
Yeah.
this. My brother, again, teaching, they meet during the day. My brother's retired. He's agreed to meet. We've already met with one of the veterans groups. We're meeting with another one. We're going to meet with the high school for those that are involved, and we are going to put this banner program in place. So the citizens, like my dad's a veteran, my family would pay for my dad's banner and
gotcha.
give us a picture. We would print it. The city would print it, and then the city pays for the hardware part. That's the expensive part. But I think I have a partner that will pay for the hardware. That's where the banners is hung. And one thing the council will have to decide on the ramifications of what happens if a banner goes down, how are we going to repair it? There's outlines again
Yeah.
for process and red tape. Another thing the council will decide is where these banners are going to be hung. That would be an important thing.
Yeah.
So that's my first project. A second one is coming up with It Stars Are Shining, where we acknowledge some volunteers in the city and that are kind of behind the scenes that nobody really says thank you for, because there's a lot out there that do a lot for our city that are never
Yes, yes.
recognized for the things that they do. And that can be nominations from this community. And if not, I have a lot of nonprofit service groups and churches that have a list of people that do so much that don't get paid, and it's all volunteered. So that's another thing I'd like to put. One thing I've done right away is I have kind of changed our council meetings to run a little bit more efficient, and it helps with business, so we're not dragging things out. And my council is really, and I've had people from the community that have gone to council meetings before now and saying, wow, we really like this. This is cool.
Wow.
So little by little, I have a list of things.
Trying to mark them all off. Yeah.
And some of them, again, will take time because it's a process. It has to, go through the red tape, and it has to go through an ordinance or a resolution. And if you do any ordinance or resolution, it takes like 3 or 4 meetings to have it even get passed for it to become something that can happen.
Well, hopefully you get them done before your term's
Yeah.
over?
Oh,
I
yeah.
think you will. I
Oh,
think you
yeah.
will. With
Oh,
your
yeah.
work ethic, that the way you tell me, and the way
Yeah.
that the whole community comes together, yeah,
Yes.
it'll be awesome. Sorry, flashing lights. Man, such a distraction. Um, Madera was called a sanctuary city.
Mm-mm.
No,
No. A welcoming
a
city.
welcoming city. And so, what's the difference between those two, and how does that affect our community?
Um, our new administration
Uh-huh.
and our president has said if you're a sanctuary city, you will lose
Funding.
federal funding,
Yeah.
and it doesn't change the law enforcement point of it because they still override any law enforcement that's local.
Right.
And the welcoming city is saying that we welcome anyone into our city, and um, we will protect them no matter what, and we will no matter what. Our police officers are, but we cannot impede if the local government ICE comes in and says we're taking this person, they're a criminal, whatever the reason is. We can't stop that.
Okay.
For me, if you watch the council meeting, I said no to welcoming cities because this government is our local government, our national government is changing every day. It's
Yeah.
kind of like COVID. I used to sit and watch
Oh yeah.
Gavin Newsom every day for lunch, and my daughter was like, "Really, we have to sit with Gavin Newsom?" I'm like, "Yeah," because as a council member, I had to see what was happening
Yeah.
every day because it would change for the city, and I feel that's where we're at again. And so for me, if welcoming city could be something that our president says, if you're labeled that, you will lose federal funding. And so for me, I said we get federal funding from transportation.
Yeah.
We get federal funding from our hospital. We get federal funding for our streets. We get federal funding for the air that we breathe to make sure we have good air quality. We get federal funding for the railroad that goes. I mean, I could keep federal funding
Yeah.
for parks. I mean, our water wells, our wastewater treatment plant, when we had that break, it's all federal funding. So I said to my colleagues, why would we take that
Risk it.
chance
Yeah.
to put a label on us? Because I've lived here all my life. We've always been a welcoming city.
Mhm.
We've never treated anybody different. I don't feel that our undocumented residents are feared of our law enforcement. If they are, it's because there's people on social media saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
ICE is over here," and people are commenting, "Show proof," and you see no proof. So they're putting a scare in our community that shouldn't be there. And I sometimes, if you look, these people that are commenting aren't even in Madera or even
Yeah.
live in the city. And I'm like, why are you even doing this? Again, not happy with what we have here.
Yeah.
My colleagues felt that we needed to have a label that said this. And again, for me, it was a political pawn. It was totally a political pawn to use for this one person, our past administration that was there pushing this forward
Right.
to say, we need to have this so that these residents feel that
Safe.
there's
Yeah.
it's not going to change anything, Diego. It's not going to change law enforcement. It's not going to change. What it's going to change is the way they get to work, because undocumented use our roads. Undocumented residents use our hospital when it opens. Undocumented residents use our parks. All that will go away. We just got a $1.6 million grant to study the railroad that goes over through Cleveland.
Oh yeah.
We call it the Hallelujah
Yeah.
intersection, because when you go through it, you're hoping that the train doesn't come through and you make it through without getting hit.
Oh, I thought because you had time to pray a rosary while
Oh,
you
that
were
well, maybe
waiting.
that too. But it's really you're just like, oh my gosh. So we know we need to do something about that.
Yeah.
Cleveland has grown so much, and people are trying to get over the tracks to a country club. So this $1.6 million federal funding will give us enough money to study on what we're going to need to build the project, engineer it, and then we'll go after grant money to actually
Great.
do the project.
Yeah.
Well, right now that 1.6 million is frozen, and nobody's picking up our calls, nobody's answering, nothing. And it has to do with what's going on. And I'm like telling my colleagues, so you're willing to let this go because we want to put a label on our head. And I think I said in council pretty clear, we have kids that are, RSP kids. We have kids that are ADHD. We have kids, and we say, don't ever label kids. We have kids that are transgender. We have kids that are, not sure what their sexuality is. We don't put a label on them. I said, why are we putting a label on our city?
Makes sense.
Again, I only had one council member, Rahi Zachariah, voted with me no and felt that wasn't the thing we needed to do at this point. because, and then my fellow colleagues felt, well, we could always come back and rescind it and take it off. And I'm like, sure, you can take it off. But our president knows we still have that imprint that we were a welcoming city
Yeah.
and can still hold funding from us and say, don't give them any grants, even if they're,
If they no
they're the
longer
best.
identify as that,
Yeah. And so I was a little frustrating, but at the end of council, we still shake hands. We
That's
still
good.
are good with each other. It's just, for me, I felt and I told them, I'm the mayor. I'm trying to do what's best for the city. And I felt that a lot of my colleagues made their decision on emotions and not as electeds. And I said that, and I try to be very careful how I said that you took an oath as an elected. You sit up here as an elected. You don't sit up here as an activist. You don't sit up here to use your emotions. You don't sit up here representing your district. You're here representing this whole community, especially with this issue.
Right.
And they
Yeah.
didn't seem to.
Agree.
Yeah.
That's rough.
It's pretty.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But well, we'll see. No, I feel like nobody knows what's gonna happen.
We don't.
With Trump in office. Yeah, and I got Trump fatigue. Like that's the first thing I do in the morning. I'm like, what did he say today? Or what did Elon do today? But
I'm telling you, it changes every day.
it does. It does. And how do you feel about Newsom?
I just met with his staff like at 3:00 for the first
No
time.
way.
Yes. And sometimes he shows up. So I was keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yes. I had a Zoom call with his staff and wanted to know, just to meet with me and have connections, have a cell phone number. If we have any issues or have concerns that
Right.
I feel that the governor can help with, or, the state of California funding wise. And so I spoke to her about some issues. The first one is our wastewater treatment and our sewer line that is in disrepair. About the trailer going into and pinching
yeah.
the sewer line. And we've repaired from Granada all the way to the wastewater treatment plant with funding from Senator Caballero, funding from Esmeralda Soya and Congressman Jim Costa. Plus, we had $23 million we got in COVID money.
Wow.
Everybody used that money for different projects, or for, like, the county used $21 million for salaries. We only got $23 million, and we put it all into sewer and water. And that's what helped paid for to complete from Granada to the wastewater treatment plant. But we got a very, very sincere letter from an engineer saying the east side of Granada going east is in disrepair, like needs help now.
Wow.
But you need money now to do that. So that was what I really shared with Gavin Newsom's staff, that we need to really look at some infrastructure dollars that need to come to little cities that haven't been able to repair it because it costs a lot of money. A lot of people think $1 million is like, for me, I tell people it's a penny in a bucket. $1 million in government is
You can only
nothing
get so
anymore.
much done, yeah.
To repair the west line that we just finished, I think it went over what we thought it was going to be because we had some more issues in it. I'm thinking it was probably 25 million to repair. That's not even, that's only, from Granada over.
Yeah.
It's an amazing how they did it. They didn't have to like dig out pipes or anything because that would have been so much more expensive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They put in like, if you think like bubble gum, they put in like a bubble gum. They blew it inside the old pipe, and then they throw cold air in it, and it expands into like harder than piping.
Whoa, that's cool.
It's amazing. I was out there watching it. And it's this one company that does an amazing job. It's not cheap, but it's more expensive to dig those holes, get the pipes out, because people don't realize it. They're like, if I'm not mistaken, 24 feet down. It was like, it's pretty far down. And that's a lot of digging to get to the pipes. Now, we did have to dig a few places to just see where the holes were so that we could redirect the sewer while we repaired those areas.
That's so good. And I think it's all those things that, going back to what you said, recognizing those heroes that nobody really sees, they're in the background. Like, I didn't even know that all that went down, but I'm sure it helped our community so much in ways that we probably don't even notice.
Well, and that's why you need to like be blessed with this council, because your water bills didn't go up very much and your sewer bills didn't go very much, because everything, how much are eggs now? I mean, everything's going up. But because we put 23 million into those projects, your bills only went up $4, maybe $6 in another area, because of us putting all that money in those projects. And these are projects that should have been done 15 years ago.
Yeah.
They've been deferred to the point where the city hasn't had the money. The tax base hasn't been here to be able to do those projects. And the one thing the citizens have to realize, that we had a sinkhole right when I got on council in 2016. by Starbucks on Howard Road in Schnorr.
Okay.
Okay, so that project was on the books, I think, for like 2.5 million or whatever, or 1.5. It's been so long. It doubled because it was an emergency repair. So you had to bring in pumps, you had to bring in emergency
Yeah.
personnel, and so if it had just been repaired, it would have been so much cheaper. So if we had money in a pot for this project, guess what? That money had to be pooled to pay for this emergency repair.
Yeah.
So now this project gets left on the books. So that's kind of what's been happening in the city.
For not
Things
being
have
proactive.
just
Yeah.
and our past council members and city managers didn't raise rates for like 15 years. We didn't raise it even $1. Diego, I was
Mm.
like, you should have seen me. I was like this. What? What do you mean we don't have money in enterprise funds? Because we never raised. And then when I got on council, everybody was kicking and screaming because the council was starting to raise. They had a 4-year plan, 10%, 10%, 15, and 5%. They were going to raise the water bills. And when I got on, it was the second year, and people couldn't afford those rates.
Yeah, those are pretty
Well, they
high.
were trying to make up for what hadn't happened for 15 years. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
crazy.
So instead of gradually, they just
Mm-hmm.
man. Well, grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And did you have anything? I know you've been like reaching for the mic a lot.
Oh yeah, I do have some questions, but something that's interesting is you are a teacher and you're also in the city council, mayor now. How would you describe the relationship between one of the largest employers in the city, Madera Unified School District, and the city of Madera?
How are our relationships?
How your relationship and like how does that work?
Our city manager meets with Superintendent Lyle once a month. They also bring in the CEO, Jay Varney from the county, and Dr. Reyna from Madera Community College. And
Wow.
so they all meet and try to work together. When we have a project that's happening with Madera Unified, like if they're building a new school, we make sure that our engineer is working with their project manager
Mhm.
to make sure that we're in the same beat with them. Madera Unified's school districts, like some of the junior highs, water bills were like outrageous because they, it's a lot of fill to water.
Yeah.
So we partnered with them we wrote a grant, got it, that they were going to try a different type of sprinkling system at MLK, and we reimbursed them $100,000
Wow.
for trying it because we wrote the grant for that. So the partnership I feel is pretty
It's strong.
solid.
Yeah.
I have good partnerships with the board of trustees. So when there's issues, we as electeds can sit down and say, this is what we need to work out. I'm going to tell my city manager, they're going to tell their superintendent, and then they work it out, the details. But together as electeds, we can have those conversations.
That is good. Yeah, it's good to have good relations between like what would this be? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about like entities, but yeah. And well, this is a faith-based podcast. Has your faith affected you at all? Like, not affected you, helped you with your decisions from council member to mayor to
Oh, yeah.
everything?
Oh, yeah. Because if you know me, I wasn't planning on running for mayor. I just got off a campaign. And during that campaign, I had ripped my calf coming off a ladder. So I couldn't canvass. I wasn't out there. I was bedridden for 4 months. That was probably not the best for me. And so a lot of my team had to pick up the slack for me because I couldn't be out there canvassing. I had to like just be on phone banking people, young kids, about getting out and voting.
Yeah.
It's important. That's all that I really could have done. And so I thought I had 2 good candidates to run for mayor. And one was like, Cece, I'm praying on it and I'm not seeing a sign. And I'm like, oh, and the other one's like, I'm praying on it, Cece, I'm not seeing a sign. And then those 2 got together and said, we prayed on it and the sign is you need to run for mayor. And I'm like, oh my
no.
gosh.
But you did mention earlier God's perfect timing.
Yeah.
Right?
So, I prayed on it and I look at it is if God doesn't give me what I want, which I really wanted to be a supervisor, he's protecting me.
Yeah.
And Madera County is $21 million in the hole. They're negative. They're a mess over there. And I feel if God gives me what I want, it's because it's his decision.
Yeah.
And so for becoming mayor and running, I think it was like that was the reason he said no to supervisor and yes to mayor, because
Yes
he
to
felt
this.
I needed to be here. So
Wow.
for me, I looked at it as a sign. And because I thought this is going to be tough being a teacher and being locked in and not being able to.
Yeah.
That's why I hadn't run in the past, because people have said, "Are you going to run for mayor?" And I'm like, "Not till I retire. I'm going to wait till I retire." But I I was just seeing so wrong happening in the council, and I could not do 4 more years. If it had stayed, I probably would not have run in 2026. I would have just stepped down
Wow.
because I was like so done. I was so done fighting a uphill battle, which it was a personal venue of what he wanted and not what was best for this community.
Yeah.
And I always, and I've got good people around me. If I ever go to, I call it the dark side. If I go over to the dark side, I've got good people who are going to pull me and say, "CC, you're done.
That's very good.
Step down. You're done, and you're doing stuff that it's not what you believe in. It's not what you pray on, and it's not what you feel is the best for your family and for this community. So you're out."
Yeah.
And I have strong enough people that if I hear that, I'll be out.
That is very important. Having a community.
Mhm.
I mean, you have good relationships and good community within the city, but also within your faith to keep you
Mhm.
grounded in why are you doing this. Yeah, I have them too. Every time I'm like, I don't know, guys, maybe we should, take this another way. They're like, nah, let's bring it back. I'm like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
So
And I pray to God every morning. I say, "God, only give me what I can handle." And sometimes it's like 4 o'clock. I'm like, "Really?
oh
You
yeah,
thought I could do one more thing? Okay, well, here I
Yeah.
go." And then I just try to gear myself up to get it done. And sometimes, you're after teaching all that, you've sometimes had it, even though I have this, and this, and then one
Right.
more thing comes up, and I'm like, "Really? Okay, here I go. I'm gonna do
Yeah,
this.
yeah. He
Get it
knows
done."
that we're capable
Hmm.
and stronger than we think. I think we always, don't give ourselves enough credit.
Yeah.
And I think it's only through his grace and through his help that we're able to accomplish what we can. Because I started this podcast and now he put in my head 3 other projects and I'm just like, I don't think so. And he's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna happen. So start working on them. But yeah, God's timing is great. And I'm glad. I saw Father John give opening prayer in
Mhm.
one of the videos, and I thought that was really beautiful. I had no idea.
I asked
Oh,
for
really?
him to be at my first meeting. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we have pastors and fathers that sign up
Yeah.
for like their month that they will come to council meetings. And I asked my city clerk to reach out and for my first meeting, I wanted him there, or
Good. I'm glad.
one of our fathers.
Yeah, it was nice because Christian had sent me the link for that, and I'm like, whatever. And then and then Alex commented like, oh, Father John. No, it was Christian. Father John gave like a really good intro speech. I'm like, all right, I'll watch. And then I press play. So yeah, and I realized just driving down the streets in Madera, there's so many church communities here.
There
There's
is.
so many, and I think it's beautiful. And I think that also goes to show the generosity of our city and the
Mhm.
wanting it to be better. A lot of faith-based people. I know there's good people whether they're faith-based or not, and there's also bad people that are faith-based. But I do see that unity within our town. I especially funny enough, during Halloween trick or treating. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I really see it.
Well, we have a ministerial society group that meets once a month. They used to meet at Roundtable. I'm not sure where they meet, and it's from pastors to evangelists to our priests, fathers, everybody,
Yeah,
and they just kind of just pull together and see what this community needs, and that's important.
that's great.
And that's where they kind of sign up for council meetings, or they do go to board of supervisors meetings, and it just depends. But for me, it's just again collaboration. We did do a big prayer at the hospital a couple Sundays ago
Good.
for them opening, and there was four different pastors from different churches, and I think it comes down to we're just praying for the right thing.
Exactly.
We're just in prayer. That's
Yeah.
what this community needs. Carlos Beckett been in our school district for probably 40 plus years, and he used to do like talks to different groups, and he's right on. And I always say I have to talk to him because I don't remember his process, but he says this is where we're at in the city of Madera, and he's like politics, and he's like things that we need, and he just listed businesses and money, and he goes down, and then he goes to the bottom and he says family, and the last one's churches, and he lists it, and he goes, okay, wait a minute, everybody, and he gets his charts and he turns it around, and he
Wow.
goes, this is what we need to go back to. Church is first,
Yeah.
family is second, and he goes, and politics is last. And it's true. We have somehow turned this upside down, and if you ever hear him speak, it's like right on. He's like nailed it, and it's hard to make that shift, but I think we're getting it, because in May We do in the city of Madera, and we invite county residents and county partners to our Madera prayer breakfast, where we have a guest speaker and everybody prays, and they have people stand up that are educators. They have people that stand up that are electeds. They have people stand up that are faith based. They have and everybody, whatever group you are and you stand up,
Yeah.
one of the pastors or fathers gets up and prays, and then you sit down, and then they'll say, okay, now we're going to be praying for essential workers, and everybody stands up.
That's
And then another
awesome.
pastor goes up and prays, and now we're paying for anybody in law enforcement. Everybody stands up, and then somebody goes and prays, and then you have a speaker. But by the time the speaker comes, I have to go back to school, so I don't really get to. I get to stand a few times, and then I'm out because I have
Yeah.
class. But it's a great evening or morning with all these wonderful people.
Man, I didn't even know about that either, and I'm so glad that we're united in more ways than I thought. It honestly, this is a beautiful town, guys.
It
Did you guys know
is.
that?
It is.
um, yeah. Well,
I tell you, we're like 2 hours from Yosemite, the gateway to
oh
Yosemite.
yeah,
We're 2 hours from an amusement park. We're 2 hours from the
From the
beach.
beach,
We are
yeah.
like that jewel in the Nile. People don't realize.
Yeah.
Other than I've noticed growing up here,
the weather.
I don't remember having triple digits like 45 days straight when I was growing up. We've had a lot of triple digits for a long amount of time,
Yeah.
which I don't remember when I was little having that long of a spread. I think it's shifted a little.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a great place to live.
I
A
like
great
it.
place to raise your kids. We go to Disneyland every year, and when I'm in Disneyland, all I hear are fire trucks and sirens all day and night there. And I go to bed here. I don't hear it very often. Maybe right now because of the water. We have a lot of water in the city. We got too much, and our piping below are not big enough to get it all in and take it to our
Yeah.
basins fast. It will get there, but not fast. But you go to other cities, you hear crime. I mean, for a while they're like, don't go to Fashion Fair at night. I'm like, I'm at Fashion Fair, it's nighttime. I mean, nobody told me. And
That's
again,
hilarious.
Fresno, there's a lot of sirens and things happening,
Yeah.
but in Madera, there's not. And we have PD, and that's one thing with Measure K. We have more officers, and so when there's a call, I mean, and it's severe, you're going to have 5 officers there in a heartbeat. As you know, sadly to say, we had one of our parents from St. Joachim's. We had 5 officers there within like less than 5 minutes.
Wow.
I mean, we will be there when
Yeah.
there's an emergency, and you will have coverage. And that's one thing I tell our officers that want to come work for us is you go to Fresno, you have an emergency,
luck.
you might not get an officer for
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes if you're lucky. If you even get anybody to come on a call with you.
Yeah.
And here we are there when needed. Totally.
Yeah, it's better to have more officers than more that you don't need than less than you need.
Hmm.
Yeah. Were you got it?
I'm
You
still good.
You good?
Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
So I remember seeing you at the city council meeting where the hospital shut down, and I remember the supervisors discussing something of building like a medical district in Madera County. If that were to take place, I don't know if they were still thinking about it. What would be the city's role, or what could they do to help improve the medical situation if it gets bad again with the hospital? If it runs into problems,
So healthcare money comes to the county, not the city. The county is the bank of mostly everything because city residents are county residents. So my thing at the hospital was we need a backup plan. We need a district hospital, and that's what you're speaking about, Alex. And I really encouraged my city manager to meet with the CEO at the county and come up with a plan and just get a consultant in to tell us what it would take to become a district hospital. And that would be the taxpayers would put something on the ballot, and then we would pay taxes to run the hospital. We would actually be the residents would be the owner of the hospital. We would put a board in place, and the board would be overseeing it to make sure it ran efficiently. But again, it would be something that the county and the city would pull together just to kind of mediate it, but it would be the residents that would be paying for it. The county was not in agreement to that, and the city can't do it on our own. So that was my concern, hoping that the hospital does well with our new providers. But what if something was to happen down the road 5 years from now and we're back in this boat? Why aren't we looking? And that's what our city manager is good at. He's always looking foresight for the future. What can we put in place? What do we need to look for to make sure that we are stable if something was to happen here, here,
Right.
and here? And so I know as Assemblywoman Soya had made some conversations with Merced, JC, UC Merced, because they are a medical college.
Oh, okay.
And so she talked about making this like a trial base where we did they did their internship here. We had doctors training doctors here, and we did a partnership here, and it would be run by UC Merced. And that's a good idea. And I thought that was out of the park, but that's something that they have to build up would take 5 to 7 years.
Mm.
And so I'm still going to have those conversations with her to see if we can still maybe work on something to have on the back burner if something was to happen, or if our residents thought that they want to go district, and they can still say, hey, county, we can go to board of supervisors and say, we want you to look into a district hospital. We want a backup just in case. We don't ever want our citizens not to have health care here.
Yeah.
And have an emergency room. Because this hospital, if I'm not mistaken, the provider is not providing labor and delivery yet. They say they're going
okay.
to, but right now they're not. And so, yeah, yes. Alex wasn't on speaker. I couldn't hear.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I
He's-
keep
he's
forgetting
new.
I need
He's
the mic
new.
in my hand. I'm sorry. I'm new to this.
It's a good addition, but
It's still fresh. Going on to this, the county supervisors, you did run for county supervisor. I was very excited to see you on the ballot for that, by the way.
Thank you.
There's a lot of things going on. I live in the county. I'm not able to vote on city issues. I saw when they pushed forward a huge raise for themselves to match the judges here, and that was right after the hospital closed. So I found it very odd that instead of doing producing things, seeing actual production with the hospital, we instead saw them giving themselves more money in their pockets. I get it, people need raises, but this was a substantial raise. What do you think us members of the county can do as someone who works with the city? What can us members of the county do to try and get our voices more heard?
You have to show up in person. There's power in numbers, and this was my concern. The election was in March, and by April 5th, it was official that he stayed supervisor, Rob Poitras, in the district that I ran in District 3. And so the second meeting in April for the supervisors, they gave themselves the raise. So they're waiting until the election was over. Not only did they get the raise, the sheriff, district attorney, and the assessor. So all of them receive raises, and the judges are automatic. So I get that. They all received raises in April, and now we are in March, not even a year later, and it has been confirmed that every employee of the county will take one furlough day a month, and that's including 21 million deficit in their budget. They've got some issues, and a lot of those hits will be law enforcement, and sheriff has a lot to cover. So I don't envy supervisors right now on the decisions they're going to make. And right now it's one day, and if they can't come up with money, it could be 2 days. Now there was about 10 years ago, it might be longer than that, as teachers we took furlough days, and we took them, and we chose to take them because if we didn't, they were going to lay off teachers, and we felt our association needed everybody to keep their jobs. So financially, every teacher took a hit, and I think we took 5 furlough days. Every teacher, certificated teacher, counselor, took that hit to keep everybody on board. And the county employees are not having a say; they're having to take it no matter what.
yeah, man, that's wow, man. You think that stuff like that only happens on like big government, but no, small government too.
And I'm guessing the county supervisors aren't taking a hit as far as their pay goes, or are they taking a furlough as well?
That's what somebody asked me. How do county supervisors take furloughs? And I go, they don't, but I haven't heard of them taking a cost adjustment on their salaries at all, or the district attorney, or the sheriff, or the assessor, and even the judges. I mean, yeah, it's the boots on the ground. That's what I have a problem with. And that's one reason I ran for supervisor. I had been talked to an SUI group of care providers, and they said they had gone to supervisors and asked for $1 raise. 75 cents would have come from the state, and a quarter would have come from the county. And they said no.
What?
And these are the people that take care of our elderly at home that nobody else really wants to care. And we don't have the facilities to put a lot of these elderlies in homes. So thank God we have people that go to their homes and take care of them. And they were just asking, again, boots on the ground people asking for a dollar raise, and were turned down. So it's stuff like that that I was really concerned about. I was concerned about the city always getting the short end of the stick when it came to the county, even though we're residents of the county.
Right.
I felt we didn't get the representation and we weren't getting the dollars that were needed to come to us. So that's
Man, that's a shame.
one reason I was running.
Well, I'm really glad that you're in. I'm really glad that everything that you're doing,
Thank you.
the whole unity within the within our city, it's really great to see. Once again, it's things that I've never noticed because it's never been a problem. So I think that says a lot of how the city has been ran, you know? Because I think people only speak up when there's an issue, right? If everything's going nicely, it's just like, well,
Right.
that's good. That's
Just
how
like
it should be.
just so I look at our voter projections, the young people really don't come out and vote unless it's something that they are, concerned about, or there's something they feel real strong about. Because I'm on the phone and I was talking from 18 to 24-year-olds. I was calling because, again, I was at home, couldn't do anything. And I got, well, where do I find my ballot? And where do I turn it in? And, and I said, if you don't vote for anything else, just vote for me for supervisor.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking for.
Just turn it in out there.
And some promised me, and I went back in my system, like I had told you earlier, and the ballot wasn't there. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
You check the receipts.
You promised me. I guess a promise doesn't mean what it used to in the old days.
No,
Very
no.
disappointing.
Yeah. I have a question. And so us, us being from a Catholic faith, we're very pro-life. How does the city look at situations where like religious group are trying to take out a business like Planned Parenthood?
For me, it's just like they wanted to raise the pride flag. For me, I feel that that's not something government should get involved in. They should stay totally out of. That's not what we were put there as elected. We were there to put policy in place, make sure that we have a balanced budget. The city council hires the city manager, the city clerk, and the attorney. Other than that, our city manager runs the city and he does everything for it.
Gotcha.
Because most of us, like me, have a full-time job. So city council members in Fresno, they get a salary and they have staff. And so their job could be to take issues on like that because that's their job. And the mayor has his job. He gets paid his salary, and he has a team of staff. City council member and mayor, it's just us. There's no staff. It's my daughter who's my chief of staff, non-paid. And it's my daughter-in-law who is my social media tech group and without pay because there's nobody there and we don't have offices. We just are in charge of 3 people and we put policy in places. So stuff like that. Again, as an elected, which I've been elected to, I try to stay out of that. But personally, it's a different story. And I've tried to let my council members know. And I've had a few conversations, and I learned this at a League of City conference. That's when all the electeds get together throughout California.
Oh.
And a mayor talked about how you can be an activist as a council or an elected on any, board that you're on. But when you're up on the dais, you are an elected. So if you want to be an activist, you got to go down to the podium, which used to happen in the past before this mayorship. And you speak your piece as who you are as a resident. So when I had, let's say I wanted to do Relay for Life, and I think it's really an important thing, cancer is not an easy thing to fight. I would go down the podium and say, I'm here to let everybody know that Relay for Life is coming in May. I would really like the city to have representation and go on, my name's Cece Gallegos. I live on, you give your address. And then I would go back up to the dais and sit as council member. Right now we have electeds from their seats being activists on the council about things that they're passionate about, which I commend them for being passionate about their issues. But you have to do it as you, not as council member or as mayor. And they need to distinguish themselves from that. And that's not happening. And so, again, that's why we have issues coming to us where it's almost just like, again, a political issue, like a pawn to get your name on something and for you to be recognized. And it's not for the right reasons. And I have to tell you, Diego, that's where I have that fight with myself, where they are my colleagues and I need to work with them to get things going, but how do I get them to see it? And I've had conversations with
Yeah.
a couple of them, and I am gonna work through it with my attorney and seeing how we can, because we can't talk to each other unless it's open session, because there's a Brown Act. I can only talk to two other council members, so only three of us can ever talk about something from council. It can't be more than three, because the Brown Act violation means that you're trying to do a meeting and make deals under the
Gotcha.
table, and
Yeah.
so if it's something I want to talk to all my council members, I'm going to have to make it public, and how to approach it where they're not feeling I'm targeting. So there's a lot of hoops and jumps I have to take to try to even, make this smooth. But the Brown Act violation is very serious to me. A lot of electeds break that, but for me, I'm
Yeah.
always walking the line. I don't ever cross it.
Yeah, I can imagine, in a position like that, egos get in the way, and that's never a good mixture. Having some type of power or some type of say and an ego, it's very easy to lose the purpose that you were there,
Mm-hmm.
your
Right.
vision. Yeah.
Right.
So that's good that you try to remind them, or try to show them. It's hard. It's hard because at my job has nothing to do with with the government, but I've had experience in other jobs where it's a little bit like higher level stuff, and this is more like a manual labor thing, and I
Mhm.
can see things from like a supervisor's point of view. And I try to speak to the supervisors, and they're like, "No, no, wait, why are you even talking? Why are you talking?" 2 weeks later, they're like, "Hey, what about this idea?" And I'm like, "That's exactly what I told you to that two
Yeah,
weeks ago." But yeah, I guess that happens everywhere, right?
it does
Yeah,
in
and
all areas, in all fields of
and at
work.
the end, it's everybody else that suffers because of someone's ego.
It does.
Someone else has to take that hit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's when I say, somebody will say, well, Councilwoman Gallegos, you're the one who did it. Why didn't you say anything? Because somebody else will take credit for it. And I'm
yeah.
like, I don't really care who takes credit as long as it
It
gets
gets
done.
done.
That's
Good.
why I did it. So if
Man,
they
that's
want to say
awesome.
they did it, that's fine,
Yeah,
as long as it gets done. Because I know
good for you.
I'm the one
Yeah.
that pushed it through, and it's going to happen. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm really glad that now that I know the first mayor of Madera, at least for me, um, I'm glad that that's the way that you look at things,
Hmm.
because I think that's extremely important, because it can just be self-serving your
Right.
position instead of serving the community.
It's a servant's heart. That's what I think we're missing in a lot of our young children and young adults, is that even in school, Alex could tell you, they're always like, well, what am I going to get if I pick up that trash? Or what am I going to get if
Yeah.
I read this book? Or what am I going to get if I do that? And even young individuals, we're always looking for volunteers for Relay for Life, volunteers for the Christmas parade. I belong to the Madera Evening Lions, so we're always doing events, and I always want to get young people involved. And it's always like, well, what am I going to get if I do that? Are you going to buy me lunch? I'm like, no, you're going to get the reward of helping people, helping this community.
Yeah.
And we've lost that in our young people. We really have to get back to teaching them a servant's heart is just giving and nothing in return,
Yeah.
just doing it to do it.
That entitlement got really huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, man. And it sucks because the reason that they're entitled is because we're doing so well. Life is good. Nothing is that far away.
Mm-hmm.
We're not starving. We're not fighting for food. I mean, maybe eggs, but other than that, yeah. So it's just like I've had everything that I've ever wanted, from video games to whatever, and they just expect real life to be like that.
Well, there was something on Facebook, and or it might have been Instagram, and it really caught my attention. It was um, a dad talking about like kind of the circle of life.
Yeah.
And he said, my great grandfather walked to school. My grandfather took the bus. My dad, worked for a car. I got a car handed to me.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing that my son will be getting transportation to get to school, bike or something. And then my grandson will be walking to school. He's talking about how it's going to turn around
Go back.
back
Yeah.
because of things that are happening in our world, that it's going to go back to what his great grandfather did.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need the bottom taken out from under us to really see what we had. It's sad that you have to lose something to realize what you had.
Yeah.
And sometimes the good Lord says, I'm taking it all away because you don't realize how good you have it
Exactly.
and how you should be giving instead of just taking.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of that.
Yeah, with abundance, at least for me, I've been in situations where I'm like, yeah, I deserve this. And then, and then when scarcity comes or difficult time comes, I'm just like, I don't deserve this. But once I get over my ego and, God humbles me, I'm like, I don't need much. And I need to learn to
Mm.
appreciate when you give me more than what I need. And like how you said, have a servant's heart and give
Yeah.
to others too.
And I've raised my kids like that. I mean,
Right.
they've always had to help with United Way, giving away bikes, giving away food. I've always raised them like
Yeah.
that. Even I struggled as a single mom, but once I got paid once a month, and I know a lot of people do this, it's not just me, but this was like 20 something years ago because my oldest is 30, so maybe 30 years ago. We used to be in the McDonald's drive-through, and we would pay for the person behind us
Oh,
every
yeah.
time we got paid. And my kids were like, "Why are you doing that, Mom? Oh, blah blah." Because they have to realize I don't know them. They're strangers, but I'm still going to help out people. That's what we do. And so they kind of got it after a couple years and they would be all excited. Didn't you just get paid, Mom? We better buy for the people behind us. And I asked, I knew at that time, I knew people that worked at McDonald's, the managers, because it was a long time ago. And they're like, Cece, one time it went 10 times. 10 times they
Wow.
just kept going. And because you never know how much the meal's going to be, because
Exactly.
it could be a family in a van or just
Yeah.
one person that ordered for their whole family. But it wasn't the amount of, how much it cost. It was showing that you're giving even to somebody you don't even know. And I've heard a lot of people happen, somebody paid for our Starbucks and
Yeah.
you hear it. Somebody paid for my meal at the restaurant because, I just had a great conversation with them. And I think that's what more of that has to that's what's done in this community. And I see it in other
Yeah.
communities too, but just people have to take a minute and just breathe and realize that we were blessed with so much and bless other people back.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And just try to make a goal once a month, when I used to do every time I got paid, the money's there. Happen to be in drive through. We're going to buy for the person behind us.
That is very good.
And
Yeah.
my kids have taken that upon themselves. Like my son does cattle on the side. That's like his fun thing to do. And he didn't want to tell me, but if you know me, I'm questioning, always asking, trying to get the answers. So there was these young kids that came to look. They're 4-H kids, and they were from, I think, Mendota, and they didn't have money to buy a nice calf to show at the fair and raise. And so my son was like, well, it's this much. And the dad was like, I don't think we have money. It's a really nice, because you try to get the best breed to because if
To
you
compete.
sell, you can get more from when you sell it
Yeah.
at the fair. And so my son said, this is the deal. I'm going to donate it to you. If it gets sick, you call me so I can go get it shots. I may get sick, whatever. I mean, if you need, good quality hay, whatever. And so again, this little bull calf that they took grand champion or whatever, and the child told my son to come, and I saw it in a picture. That's the only reason I found out. But again, it rubs off. I mean, I don't always see it in my face. They don't always tell me, but I know in the back of my head, my 3 kids are doing it.
Yeah.
Another incident was my daughter she went to Cal Poly. She's in San Luis Obispo, and she's with a lot of friends. There's about 8 of them. And a lot of these kids didn't come from Madera. They come from high,
Yeah.
communities that have a lot. And this gentleman walks in kind of looking homeless, and he said, my car broke down. Can I use your phone to call my sister? She'll come get me. And all the kids started laughing. They're 19, laughing, ha, 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 blah, blah, blah. And Kelly goes, well, here's my phone. Call. He
Wow.
goes, okay, I want to go outside and call. And they all started laughing at her. They said, he took your phone. You're never going to see it again. iPhones are expensive. And then they were expensive back in the day. And Kelly said, well, my mom would say that if he takes it, he needed it more than me.
Wow.
And she'll take care of it and get me another phone. And like within 10 minutes, he came back, gave her the phone and said, thank you so much. My sister's on her way. She's going to try to stop by and get a tire so I can change it. But he's telling her the whole story. And he goes, I really appreciate it. And then she said, oh, you're so welcome. You need anything to eat? He goes, no, I'm good. And all the kids around her were just like,
Yeah.
she said they didn't know what to say because they did not have the servant's heart. They didn't even have the capacity the compassion to think this is just somebody who just needed a phone. And if he was going to take it, then he needed it more than her. And so I feel my kids have done it. They really have taken to another level what I've taught them. And I think it has to start with the parents. And
Yeah.
that's what Alex can tell you, that we're not seeing that in our schools anymore. Parents are not taking the time to give their kids time to raise them right, because we have to give them that
Yeah.
time.
I think some parents feel just as entitled as the kids. Or
Yeah.
I caught myself doing this weekend with my daughter. Like we're hanging out and it was already like time for her to go back with her mom. And then I caught myself the last hour. I was just like scrolling on social media, and instead of just like hanging out, and I'm just like, what am I doing? And I remember driving her home. I'm like, Mia, I'm sorry. She's like, what for what? I'm all like, I was on my phone instead of being with you. And she's all like, oh, it's okay. I'm gonna see you again. But like for me, it's just like I'm not putting in the effort, you know?
Yeah, you got to be present. I
One
tell
hundred
parents, you got
percent.
to be present. Put the phone down. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, we have kids that are crying at junior highs because we're taking away their phones and locking them up. They're so addicted to it that parents don't realize. And what's hard for me is we have parents who are like, my child needs their phone. They're actually backing their kids instead of knowing that this is taken away from their education.
Yes, that's another thing that I've noticed. Parents don't back up the teachers anymore.
We were heroes in COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're the bad guys.
Yeah. And luckily my ex-wife, she works for the school district and she is very pro teachers, and I was too. I mean, I still am. I still am, because when I hear my kid like, hey, she did this wrong, I don't question the teacher. Like, well, that couldn't have been my kid. I'm like,
Mhm.
all right, now you're gonna get in trouble at home too. You got in trouble here and over there because you shouldn't be behaving this way. And yeah, I don't see that as much anymore. Either.
No.
Yeah. It's always like my son would never do that. It's probably the way that you're teaching or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, luckily my ex-wife, she kind of opened my eyes on like how the school district goes and how teachers get treated.
And that's part of just educating
Yeah.
our community, which is hard. How do you get it out there? There's some parenting classes, but the ones who really need the parenting classes aren't the
Never
ones
go.
in them.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. And the
That's-
parents we need a conference with are the ones that don't come.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. It never works out. But oh man. Usually life will catch up to you.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
and I'm not saying karma or anything like that. It's just a reality check always happens, and it's God humbling us. Like, you need to pay attention here.
And that needs to change because that filters into this community. And those are our leaders. I try to tell everybody, these are our leaders that are going to lead this community in the future, because we can't do it forever.
Yep. Future council members, future
Mhm.
officers, future teachers.
Exactly. It's
Wow.
important.
Yeah. I think my kid only saw me do something good like that once. I don't have her much. I don't have, no, I'm just kidding. No.
Well, that's the problem right there,
yeah,
Diego.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a podcast to run. It's fine.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, but one thing that I noticed, we do jujitsu together, and I help coach her class. And one thing, she was brand new, but she took it upon herself to like start helping out this. They became best friends, her and this little girl. She got there, she cried for 2 straight classes and didn't want to do anything. My daughter, I'm all like, why would you do that? No, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
But like she just started to talk to her and be like, here, I'll show you. It's okay. It's gonna come. And I was just like, I was like, don't cry in front of the kids right now because they're gonna make fun of you. But it was one of those moments. And I was just kidding. Yeah. I mean, I try my best to always do good in public, to behave well in public. Luckily, I have a lot of good friends. Before, I was very, not gonna lie, very rude to our like food service people. Yeah, I was, but
That's the hardest working
it is.
force.
And I've worked in Panda Express and Domino's, and I know what it's like. And I felt like, yeah, and it's a lot of humbling that God does for me. And luckily, she's never seen me have those like kind of Karen, or I don't know, the boy version of Karen, Kevin.
If you're Kevin, keep watching.
This is perfect. I have a friend named Kevin that I know watches. Yeah, so I would definitely be like that, and I guess I was, I fight through that entitlement as well, and I guess that's what parents need to do. It's like it's a tough battle, especially if we've been used to getting everything that we want.
Mhm.
And
And there's no book that says right for wrong. That's the thing I
Oh,
try to tell my
yeah.
kids. There's no book teaching us how to do this.
yeah,
We learn as we go, and we will make mistakes. We're parents. We're human.
hmm
It happens.
yeah,
You got to give yourself some grace sometimes when you're on your phone for an hour and you didn't realize it.
that I could have been spending time with my quality time with my daughter.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's those moments that now it stuck with me today too. And I sent her a text. I'm all like, I'm sorry for yesterday. She's like, it's okay. We'll have more time together. I'm like, yeah. And I think when parents get those opportunities, they really need to let it sink in.
Oh, it drives me crazy at a restaurant when kids are on their devices.
Yeah.
I'm just like, and I'm giving them looks, and my kids are like, "Mom, mom," and I'm like, "What?" And the kids are climbing over the booths, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
"Sit down."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Mom, they're not your kids." I'm like, "And," or Walmart when somebody's crying because they don't get what you want. I'm like shaking my head, giving the teachers, like, "Stop crying."
Yeah.
And my kids are like, "Mom," and I'm like, "What?" That's me.
Yeah.
Always, it never ends. Yeah.
Oh man, how many kids have you seen your whole years teaching? You said 700?
No, I
No,
teach 700 right
right
now.
now. Whoa.
Right now, every year for 4 years, I've been teaching that many. Yeah.
So in total, what do you think? Like 10,000 maybe?
Oh, I've never added up. I've been teaching 33 years.
Yeah.
I have for the first time two of my students' kids this year.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're coming back around.
Do you see them a lot in your community?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
No.
Yes. We do a citizen academy for police and for the city. And one of the young ladies in the citizen academy, the first day was Monday. They're like, "How do you know the mayor?" She's like, "She was my teacher."
That is so cool. That is so cool. I
Yeah.
can't picture any of my teachers being the mayor, so I'm glad it's you.
I have to tell you, it's really heightened elections and electives to this whole school of John Adams. They didn't understand elections. They didn't understand
Yeah.
the mayor or council member, when voting happened, how long it took. And they were out there being my canvassers with their grandparents and their parents. You have to vote for Miss Gallego. So
Oh,
my
that
art
is
teacher,
so awesome.
that I'm hoping, that I have created some young leaders that will someday take my place because they saw. And that's one thing Esmeralda Soya, Assemblywoman, has championed, and I'd love to say is, if you don't see somebody, you can't be them. You have to see
Mhm.
them to be them. So if young women who are Hispanic don't see somebody in that position, they'll never think they can be that.
Yeah.
If they don't see a young man, Hispanic, in that position, they don't think they can be him.
Yeah,
You, Alex.
Alex.
And so I think that's important. And because the kids are asking after November 5th, did you win? Did you win? Did you win? I mean,
Yeah.
everybody. And we couldn't really announce it because, again, it wasn't official, even though I had a pretty big spread that he could never catch. I
Yeah.
still didn't want to say anything without it being official.
Yeah.
But it did give them a big heighten about. They looked at, I saw your picture on the corner. I saw your name. They didn't know my first name because that's like a no-no with me. You don't use my first name
Keep it
ever.
respectful. Yeah.
And so they were like, "I know your first name. I saw your poster." And I'm like, "Yes, yes, yes." So I had to like give a little grace when they said Cece, and
Yeah.
I had to like keep walking.
Susie, nope. That's
Miss Gallegos to you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I helped out at a youth group for about 7 years, and I see them every once in a while around town, and sometimes they're like, "Oh, hey," I'm like, "Okay, what's up?" And they're like, "From youth group, right?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, what's up, man?" I completely don't remember.
Well, they changed. They changed into young individuals,
Yeah.
and you knew them younger where they're just kids. It's hard.
Yeah, and it made me realize how I kind of have to behave a lot more in public,
Mm-hmm.
because when you have a position of authority or of mentorship,
Mm-hmm.
you know, these kids look up to you, and you got to be really careful.
How are you not behaving, Diego?
At customer service at restaurants.
Oh, at restaurants.
It was
Oh.
actually one of the kids. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's just I never really took it into consideration until like I started running into them.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be more aware of like
Mhm.
my surroundings,
Yes.
what I'm doing, and get outside of thinking about myself,
Yeah.
thinking about how I'm serving the public, even when I'm not in everybody's eyes. So, man,
Right.
I commend you for.
And that's been hard for my kids. Being a teacher, my kids always knew they had to behave and they had to watch what they did. And when I ran for council in 16, I set my whole family down, especially my kids, and I said, okay, when you're in the public, you can't be, they have my son at the time, said a few bad words, which
Mhm.
I didn't allow. But again, he gets around your friends. And I said, well, when you're in public, you can't be doing that because now
Yeah.
you're the councilwoman's son. But they've had that their whole life. It's nothing different. That's why people are like, your kids are going to go to shock. I'm like, they've had that their whole life because I've been born and raised here. And my reputation says a lot that I've
Yeah.
always been very strong and we walk the line. We follow the rules. We don't cuss. We don't do any
Good.
of that. We always do good. And so my family had to give the green light before I was going to run for council because they have to behave too. It's not just me. They will
Yeah.
have to behave too. And that was a little hard for my son. I think
I
my
bet.
daughters were pretty good with that, but and even to this day, he's still, I'm like, he's 30 years old. I'm like, Donovan, you know what? I deal with supervisors too. You better, he's in the county like
Yeah.
you, Alex. I'm like, you better be good in the county.
Man, well, this was awesome. I really appreciate you coming on,
Sure.
Cece. I got nothing else. Do you guys got anything else? Yeah, I really appreciate you.
Okay, I just want
coming
to say a little bit about myself. I have 3 children and 2
on.
grandchildren.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. And my grandchildren are my apple of my eyes. She's 2, and my other grandson's 6. He's at John Adams, and I teach him art, so he comes to me. I have to say, a lot of people say, Councilwoman or now Mayor, thank you for what you do
Yeah.
and all that you do. You're just awesome. And I used to say before when my parents were alive, you need to thank my parents. I'm whom I am because of my
Wow.
parents. My parents both worked 40 years each, 40 years in Madera Unified School District. I will not be doing 40 years. They were both recognized last year for their service for the district, and they really gave up their lives to raise. There's 5 of us,
Yeah.
and put us all through college. All 5 of us with not making very much money, and talk about really trying to survive. My parents taught us a lot, and
Yeah.
I feel that I've done the exact same raising that my parents did with me, and I see it in my son with my grandkids. And he said, "I'm never gonna be like you, Mom." Well, he's probably worse than me, stricter than I am, and I was pretty strict. And I just thank the Lord that I had my parents for so long.
Yeah.
My mom passed away last April, and it was very devastating because my mom's my rock. She loves Madera,
Yeah.
and I went back to school, and I tried to go back to school. And my 5th graders were like, Miss Gallegos, we're so sorry. And I just started crying, and I couldn't stop. So I took off another month because I couldn't pull it together. And when I went back, I had a couple of students, and I said, hey, Aiden, where were you at? And he's like, oh, my dad passed away. And his mom had passed away like 3 years ago. And I
Wow.
said, whoa, I'm so sorry, Aiden. And the other student, I said, hey, where were you? He's like, my mom passed away. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. These are 4th graders. So they're like 10 or 11. And I'm thinking, I thank the Lord. I was 56 years at the time. I had 56 years with my mom. I had about 50 years with my dad. And these 2 little 11-year-olds have lost their parents. And the good Lord has blessed me with all those years with my parents to instill the things they needed to instill in me. And they helped raise my kids with me. And I just thank the good Lord for that, because we are who we are because of them. And I pray for my students, and I was trying not to cry and try to hold it together, because I know the good Lord takes them away from us for reasons, that it's their time, but it's very hard when they're that little. And I was like, Cece, stop crying. I mean, your mom's in a better place now, and she's healthy, and she's with my dad, and I'm like, and I'm going to pray for these little ones that really need prayer, because they don't have anyone. And I think that's what kind of got me out of my mode with my mom, because she was a big hit for me. She
Yeah.
was like, she was our rock, and she was shopping and driving
Mhm.
and doing everything at 89 years old, and just took a turn for the worse in her health. And she said that if I can't do what I did before I got in here, then just let me go. And so we let her go, and we knew she was going to be in a great place. And she's watching over all of us and these grandbabies. My son named his daughter middle name after my mom. She's always and she was alive to hear that, and she met her. And
Oh
so
my gosh. So
I just had
blessed.
to say something about my parents, because I'm who I am because of them.
Yeah, 100%.
They're my heroes. And I'm going to speak at Madera Community College on Thursday for Women's History, and they ask you who are your heroes, and
Yeah.
why do you do what you do? It's my mom, because she always wanted to be a teacher. But back in those days, women didn't go to college. And so she was a school secretary at Washington School for 15 years. She did TJ, ended up going district office, and became assistant. She became the administrative assistant to student services. And my dad was a custodian bus driver and became the locksmith for entire district. And so for my mom's dream was for her daughters to go to college. And my dad was at first with my sister because my mom and dad had three of us and then took a break 13 years later and had my sister and I. So there's like a big break in there. And so my sister she's like 7 years older than me. And then I have one that's 1 year older than me. And my mom was like, she's going to college. And my dad was like, no, she's not. They go to college, they get the mind of their own. She's not going. And my mom really pushed, gotten, arguments with my dad. She ended up going to college. She kind of paved the way for my sister and I, we're really close. Yeah. She teaches with Alex, and I've been teaching with her at John Adams all these years. And she paved the way for us to go to college. It wasn't as hard to convince my dad. And it was her dream. And we kind of lived out her dream for her. That was the good part. And my parents were always like, education is the key. And that's one thing I tell young kids when I speak to them. I said, people can take away your car, they can take away your house, they can take away everything except they can't take away your education. So get your education. That's important. And my mom was such an advocate of that. Get your education. That will take you endless places. And I have to thank my parents for that again, because I was in a marriage that wasn't the best. And we, met with Father Arnold. I don't know if you knew who Father Arnold was, sat with him, tried to work things out. Just couldn't make it happen, and ended up getting divorced and moved the kids out. And without an education in my job, there would have been no way I could have left with my three kids, because I would have depended on my ex-husband for financial means to raise this family. Yeah. But because I had that education, I was able to raise these kids with my family and make them the children or the adults they are to this day. So again, I commend my parents for their sacrifices for all of us. Yeah. And all of us are just another kudo is my brother. I've talked about it being a parks director. They just named a park after him, Phillips Park Place in Kerman. If that doesn't say a lot. And my mom was there, able to see it. So she saw the fruits of her children, and our legacy will live on between my parents and now us that are here, and then our kids and our kids' kids. And I think that's what we strive for in this world is I always say, I want to leave it better than I found it. And I pray to God every day to take me before my kids. That's the one thing I do pray to him for.
Yes, 100%.
Take me before my kids. That's all I ask.
Yeah, it's one of my biggest fears.
Yeah, that is mine. So those are some prayers I'm always telling you. You always hear my little side prayers there, and those are everyday things. But I just tell you that my mom was very faith-based in the Catholic Church. And as you know, these young peoples are straying away from it. And she always worked with my daughters who are struggling. Yeah. And always, said, you need to get married in the Catholic Church, and you need to go to church every Sunday, and to the end, lighting candles for them, in the chapel, and they'll come around. She's up there still watching over them and praying, and when they're ready, it'll happen. That's how I feel. I just have to, that's all I can do is just hope and pray, and with her guidance, they'll get there.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's such a beautiful thing.
You're welcome.
Man, beautiful family. You come from such a beautiful family.
It is.
And man, the legacy is very important. You're absolutely right. We do want to leave it better for our kids, not be on our phone 1 hour while we're spending time with them. I regret saying that now. But it's the
We
truth.
got it on video. I'll tell you. Yeah.
That's all good. She's going to hold that against me when she's 18. On this video, on this day with the mayor, you said this.
Yes.
And I'll be like, I wasn't listening. I was on my phone. But I am so grateful to have such an amazing mayor with the integrity that you have and the vision that you have for our city, the care and love that you're showing for all our residents. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'm getting all choked up now.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I know.
No.
I almost did too. I'm like, I'm not going to cry.
No, really. Thank you. This is the first time we meet, and you've made such an impression on me, and you've got my vote. I don't know if you guys do 2 terms, but either way, you got my support. 100%.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you so much. I've also been through a divorce too, and I know how that can be. And yeah, hearing you say that, still powering through, still doing the best that you can to,
Yeah, because
to raise and
I'm sure
support.
you were raised like
Yeah.
me, where you don't get divorced, you stay in the
Mhm.
marriage.
Yeah.
And I tried that. And then I don't know if you were like me, I didn't share that, but I finally, after probably of 3 years of not trying to make it work, my son was in fourth grade, my daughter was in second, and then first. And I thought, oh my God, these kids are going to they're going to grow up thinking this is a marriage. This is the way it should be.
Yeah.
And I didn't want them growing up and have a vision of this is what a relationship is like. And as you heard, I instill great values and
Yeah.
which my parents have in me. And my parents kept saying, Cece, we'll help you get a house. If you need to move, we don't think this is real healthy for you and the kids. And I was like, no, I'm going to make this work. We got married in the Catholic Church. This is my,
Yeah.
that's how I was raised. You don't get divorced. You could separate and get back. And we did separate for a while before I don't think I divorced for 12 years after I separated, because I kept thinking, that's how I was raised. And my parents got us a house and we moved out. But you have to remember that you have to do what's best for your kids.
Yes.
That's what, because
Yeah.
they're too little to speak for themselves. You have to advocate for them. And I didn't want them to have a relationship thinking it was going to be like what they're being raised and seeing every day in and
Yeah.
out. And I was raised, everybody sits at the dinner table, no phones, no TV, no books. And that wasn't happening in our house anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I've got to stop this. And that's when I decided that I needed to leave for my kids. It was the best thing for my kids.
Yeah.
Maybe not for me, but at that point, you have kids, you have to take care of them.
Yeah, 100%. And that was the best move for my daughter.
Mhm.
That me and her mom split up. It was just not a good relationship. And it happens, and it happens. And a lot of people beat themselves up. They think that they're failures, or that, well, at least I did, or that, their family looks at them in a certain way, and they might. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for your kids. It's
Right.
funny because my mom still has a picture of me and my ex-wife in her room. And my daughter was looking at it, and she's like, I can't picture you guys together. I'll be like, where were you back when we were married to tell me this? Oh,
Yeah.
you know? But like, we don't see it at the time, but maybe the purpose was just to, have these kids and then
Right.
go our own way.
As long as you stay friends and you still have that relationship, because you have to still raise your kids together.
Oh, 100%. I tell everybody, I'm like, I love my ex-wife now way more than I did when I was
Yeah.
married with her.
Some
because
people can't live together and it just
No,
doesn't
yeah.
work. And
we're awesome co-parents.
yeah, that's the
Very-
most
yeah.
important part.
Yeah, and every time we talk about our daughter and what she did right, what she did wrong, and what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and or what we think. Anyways, but
That's a good podcast.
yeah.
I'll watch that one.
Yeah, my ex, I should no. I don't think. Yeah, we'll have my people talk to her people. But yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, it definitely shows your mom's contribution to you, your
Mhm.
parents, and and the legacy that you're leaving behind.
Yes.
And once again, thank you. But yeah.
Okay. Well, good night, everybody.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
We actually end this with the prayer.
Oh,
Yeah,
yay.
it's called the Pray About It
Okay.
podcast. All right, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, Amen. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for having such a great community that you've blessed us with. I ask that you continue to look out for us, our entire town, our county. That way we can always do everything to be unified and to do it for your glory. I ask that you continue to give Cece the graces that she needs and all the blessings that she needs to continue to do do your work in your name and for our benefit as a town. I pray for all the leaders in our city, in our state, and all over the world. And just thank you so much for blessing us. And we pray this in Jesus' name with the intercession of Mary. Amen.
Amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.